across as fucked up. You just have to make your up your own mind on whether or not you think I have unrestrained homophobia in my heart, and I'm just like, you have no gay friends. Oh, you're saying twink is offensive? No, he's not even saying twink is offensive. He's just saying twink can be perceived in an offensive manner, which is not wrong. But yeah, that's true. Some people do basically substitute it as like the F slur, right? Which is true. I understand that. But again, it's just not something that is possible for me to tamper with all the time, especially because it's just, I am who I am. And there are always going to be moments in this medium that I exist in that many people are not very familiar with. They're almost going to clip. Where, of course, there's going to be angry moments and things of that nature. And yeah, it is what it is. Also, the other side of the story, of course, is the unrealistic demands and the puritanical attitude demonstrated by broader flanks of the left. The notion that, like, we cannot be charitable to those who are our allies or those who have demonstrated a long-standing commitment to uplifting all voices. It's impossible. 10 seconds in the least charitable framing is actually everything that I needed to know about you. It corresponds to my own personal biases about you. It is what it is. If that's your attitude, if that's the type of attitude that you have, then one, it's going to be very difficult to build any sort of broad coalition, and two, that's just not how human beings are in general. That's not how it works. This isn't to say. This isn't to say that. This isn't to say that you should just like let everything slide. That's not what I'm saying at all. But especially if you're on the left, okay? Especially if you're on the left, this is not about me, okay? This is about you. If you're on the left and you want to be a communicator for the left, you have to recognize that one day that level of scrutiny will come for you as well. That level of that puritanical approach will also tamper with your objectives as well. It's inevitable. It's always going to happen. Haters claim you had facial enhancement surgery. Wait, really? That's nice. That's cool. So what metrics do you personally weigh when deciding who you let in the coalition and who isn't? Like, how do you personally draw the line? I'm actually curious. In terms of broad coalition building, I look to not what a person has done in their past, but who they are now and what they represent now, what the values that they have are now. And I will always demonstrate charitability, maybe even to a fault. A lot of people actually get mad at me for that. And because of that charitability, I've been burned quite a bit by people who I have perceived as allies or people who I've perceived as good people overall. But I haven't stopped my own. I haven't stopped being charitable to people as long as they don't do something that is like totally and utterly irredeemable, or it makes me call into question what their worldview looks like. I'm always going to assume that I can change their minds, or lead them on a better path, guide them towards a better path that they also think is better for everyone. Anyway, getting back to this though, Zoran Mamdani was discussed. Okay. Andrew Cuomo, this is a Politico article that also mentions me as well, but Cuomo suggests Mamdani would cheer a future terror attack. This is, I think, such a spectacular overwhelmingly racist line of attack. It is so clear what this is. Now, he went on Sid Rosenberg's radio show, and Sid Rosenberg is a very conservative Jewish radio show host. And they had a back and forth on this radio show where they were talking about Zohran Mamdani and 9/11. Here's what took place.
There's a crisis. And people's lives are at stake. God forbid another 9/11. Can you imagine Mamdani in the seat?
Yeah, I could. He'd be cheering.
Well, it's another problem. But can you imagine that?
No.
Listen. Mamdani was in the seat on 9/11.
Yeah.
What would have happened in the seat?
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Just straight up saying, like, he'd be cheering on the 9/11 attack if he was the mayor, if another 9/11 was happening. I mean, this is the most transparent version. This is the most transparent version of racism. Like, it's such an overtly racist thing to say about a Muslim candidate that any sort of comparison to any other marginalized population that I would invoke would, even by pure analog, would make me look like I'm an unrelentless racist, which is why I'm not going to do that, right? But it's like you can figure out exactly what the equivalent would look like if they were talking about a black person, okay, and the white supremacist stereotypes in regards to a black person, or if they were talking about a Jewish person and the anti-Semitic stereotypes that surround Jewish people, even including 9/11, ironically enough, because there are plenty of people who think Israel and Jews were responsible for 9/11. And if Zohran Mamdani was a Jewish candidate and Andrew Cuomo, an Italian man, went on a right-wing broadcaster show and turned around and said, like, well, you know, can you imagine a Jew being in charge of New York when 9/11 was happening? I mean, he would just cheer it on. He would do it again. He would tell all of his friends to leave the towers before the fucking planes fell, like before the planes hit it. Like, that would be a career ender, right? That would be a career ender. And the anti-Semitic conspiracy of like the Jewish connection on 9/11 is a lesser known one as opposed to the direct Islamophobic conspiracies, which is why I don't feel as scared to even bring it up, as opposed to like something about black people or something more nefarious about Jewish people that is broadly known, like a more nefarious stereotype. Okay. I'm not going to do it. Proceeds to do it. No, I even explained why I don't feel as worried bringing up that as a counterexample as opposed to something else. Right? It's something else would look like blood libel. Anyway, but because, and every person of marginalized background in this community and across the board knows exactly what this is, what I'm about to explain. Sometimes dealing with bigotry of this sort, if you're a woman, if you're trans, if you're black, if you're brown, is doubly fucked. Because not only do you have to make the mental calculation of whether or not you have the time or the energy to expend to address the racism, you also have to literally think, well, what if the rest of the audience that's listening to what this asshole has to say agrees with him? That is one of the most nefarious aspects of having to consistently combat with bigotry of every sort. Because let's say you're a black person and the person in front of you said something objectively white supremacist, right? As a black person in that moment, you go through the process of, do I check this guy? Do I explain to him that he's being racist? Is he even going to be receptive to me checking him? Or is there going to be an even more aggressive reaction as a consequence of me checking him? And worst of all of the people around us that are hearing this conversation, will they actually side with me? Are they equipped with the knowledge of what white supremacist dog whistles look like? Or are they actually going to side with him and assume that I'm an angry black man who's just complaining for no fucking reason? Okay? It is doubly socially isolating to have to go through that mental calculation every step of the day, every day throughout the week. It's really fucked up. Okay? And it's one that women have experienced in terms of dealing with misogyny. It's one that black people have experienced in terms of dealing with white supremacy. It's one that brown people have experienced in terms of dealing with bigotry. And it's one that trans people experience as well. This is a part of understanding intersectionality. Okay? This is unfortunately how it works. And cynical actors such as Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams will lean into that. They will lean into broad majorities finding Islamophobia to be totally permissible. And I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to check that. I don't know. And that's precisely the reason why a lot of people just kind of let it slide. A lot of Muslims let it slide. A lot of black people let it slide. A lot of women let it slide. Because after a while, you're like, well, what am I supposed to fucking do? I can't do anything. And in that process, people become way more... in that process, the victims of these sorts of bigotries become more aggressive. Okay? They have a hair trigger. It's from that exhaustion of constantly trying to prove your humanity to others who just don't want to fucking see it, who don't want to hear it. And the knowledge that even people that you have perceived as your allies up until that very moment could turn on a fucking dime and also see you in the exact same way that this white supremacist sees you is a terrifying prospect. So a lot of people just like refuse to even address it out of fears that they're going to see someone that they have admired or liked up until that moment say something that caused them to recalculate. Like, have you seen me as this being this entire time? As someone, finally a good take. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever had this take. Guy who's been called a fucking terrorist by his former counterparts and virtually 95% of the fucking sphere that I'm in the circles that I'm in for the better half of the last 2 years doesn't understand what it looks like when he only sees silence from all of the other fucking contemporaries and counterparts. He doesn't understand it at all. I've talked about this quite a bit. Of course. Always woe is me, stop. This is unironically exactly what I was talking about. Because every single person that is marginalized in some fashion in this chat knows exactly what this dude is doing right now. Where you address it, and what happens? You address it, and people go, ugh, God, stop being a fucking complainer. Can't even have a brief moment. This is partially the reason why there are places that are ordained as safe spaces. This is not one of them, obviously, but this is it. This is why people are like, oh, why can't we just have a fucking safe space for ourselves? And then people find that to be an act of violence as well. Yeah, just pulling the race card. Okay? Just take something on the chin for once. You do this all the time, though, as an individual from your position. Just take it on the chin for once. Well, I'm talking about a broader context of what people who experience some form of marginalization experience. So I'm glad that you also proved the example of what I was talking about. Even if you briefly mention it, as opposed to just taking it on the chin, as you do 1,000 times a day, there is always going to be a chirper. Okay? You see what I mean? This was the example that I'm sure everyone is fucking aware of. But thank you, chatter. In any case, that was my point. That's why many people just take it on the chin. But there is a downside to that as well. There's a downside to constantly taking it on the chin, because then you have to do this other calculation where you're like, okay, if I take it on the chin all the fucking time, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? I only became a follower so I can say this. Hassan is just Brian Griffin. Guy who only can contextualize things that he's seeing through cartoons. Please, I really hope that you're 14 years old and you're just TikTok brained. Because if you're 35 years old and you're still contextualizing things in the real world from the framework of you're just like Brian Griffin from Family Guy, you're not going to make it, big dog. Anyway. Muslim. Islamophobia is bad. Islamophobe. You're a fucking terrorist. You know what's worse than Islamophobia? Mehdi Hassan says the levels of Islamophobia in this country are off the charts right now. When talking about Larry Elder's post saying Zoran is going to do 9/11, but a communist 9/11 on New York. And Godsod, #1 dick rider, major Islamophobic mouthpiece says, you know what's worse than Islamophobia? The nearly 3,000 innocent people who died on 9/11 at the hands of an Islamic terrorist, or the 48,000 Islamic terror attacks in the nearly 70 countries since 9/11 alone. People are waking up. I talked about this yesterday. But it bears repeating now. I think there is a deliberate effort by Zionist advocacy organizations that have now come to the recognition that Israel's PR is in the gutter for good reasons, and therefore they can't really defend Israel. So the next best thing that they could potentially do is shit on Muslims and try to turn Israel-Palestine into a Jews versus Muslims, or even better yet, Western civilization versus Muslims style conflict. There are obvious initiatives of this sort. That's why Tommy Robinson, a famous white supremacist fascist from England, flew out to Israel recently and tries to maintain the attention of the right and the reactionary movement on all of Islam's flaws and failures, and really beefing up Islamophobia, because they realize that even the right doesn't fuck with Israel any longer. And once Israel loses the right, they got nothing left. But yeah, I showed you the Zoran Mamdani statement, like the statement made about Zoran Mamdani, and here is Zoran's response to it.
Before you sat down here on Sid Rosenberg's radio show, your opponent Andrew Cuomo said this, quote, "God forbid another 9/11. Can you imagine Mamdani in the seat?" End quote. Rosenberg responded by saying he'd be cheering. Andrew Cuomo said, quote, "That's another problem." I want to get your reaction.
This is disgusting. This is Andrew Cuomo's final moments in public life, and he's choosing to spend them making racist attacks on the person who would be the first Muslim to lead this city. And frankly, it's not about me. It's about the fact that there are more than 1 million Muslims who live in New York City. And to have our faith be smeared and slandered.
For the record, this is part of the reason why he can't just like outright say, oh, Hassan sucks, it's not me, when slam with the 9/11 shit, because there are very few victories there for him. Okay, that's the maximalist position, but he knows where that resentment is coming from. He knows that this is cynical framing, which is why I was a little upset initially with his disavowal of the globalized intifada narratives. He made that calculation in the moment that it was not worthy of having to defend over and over again. And he just didn't want to fucking have to be inundated with this line of attack. So he thought he could just simply say, oh, well, you know, the globalized intifada thing, I don't say it, you know, I disavow it, blah, blah, blah. It seems like a lot, I've done some learning. It seems like a lot of people, you know, have a different approach to what it is, right? But it didn't do anything. It didn't stop. And just like his disavowal or condemnation of me, if he were to do that, would not stop the Islamophobic line of attacks. You have to, at a certain point, address the exact root cause of why this cynical approach is happening. And he's doing that right now. He's doing that right at this very moment where he says it is the dying last gasp of a desperate candidate that is endorsing full-throated Islamophobic attacks against his Muslim opponent. And the very fact that Democrats are not all incredibly angry at Andrew Cuomo for, one, refusing to drop out of the race, and two, allowing him to basically exist within the Democrat infrastructure while doing these sorts of bigoted lines of attack, not just against Muslims either, but against all different marginalized backgrounds, as we saw in last night's AI attack ad that he crafted, that they quickly posted and deleted. The very fact that a person who is claiming to be a true Democrat, an institutional Democrat on this race, is hitting maximalist, Islamophobic, and racist attacks against the actual Democrat on the ticket is insane. Where are all the vote blue no matter who liberals who claim that Bernie Sanders did not do enough? Even though Bernie Sanders not only endorsed Hillary Clinton, but actually went all around the country at the behest of Hillary Clinton and did the same for Joe Biden as well. I think the broader liberal attitude towards candidates that they previously thought were unelectable or radical is changing. Okay? There is a much healthier attitude from the liberal base towards the likes of Zohran Mamdani and towards the likes of Graham Plattner as well. We shall see how that translates to the Michigan Senate run of Abdul El Sayed. Okay? It seems to me like voters, liberal voters in general, are lockstep with the left flank of the party, where they have now finally realized that actually it is a better electability argument if you are engaging in left populist policy making. Okay? Same shit for how long they stood up for Haitians. This included the media who did the bare minimum in terms of advocating. I know. I mean, that was unimaginable. Like, I could not believe it. You know, you were here. I could not understand how an election campaign got away with straight up saying that black people were eating cats and dogs, man. It was so fucking insane. There hasn't been polling after the skull shit stopped baking. Wait, what? There hasn't been wide sweeping, broad condemnation over even the most irredeemable thing in the eyes of the liberals, which is having a fucking Nazi tattoo. Okay? That's all I'm stating. And we'll see. We'll see where it goes. All I'm saying is I'm noticing a lack of response from these kinds of severe escalations from the right There's a lack of response on the left against severely escalating, severely tuned up, racialized rhetoric. So much so that even the likes of fucking Dinesh D'Souza has recognized it. The anti-Indian sentiment that is so perverse and unchecked and unrestrained. So much so that J.D. Vance, whose children are Indian, J.D. Vance, whose wife is Indian, has defended the anti-Indian sentiment of big balls and all the Doge kids and whatnot. And when Republicans also expand that permission structure of bigotry, what do you think is going to happen? When people have no social cohesion, when people have no social checking around bigotry that is not only exhibited, but just like openly posterized bigotry, a lot of those people are going to feel infinitely more comfortable doing it.
By someone who at one point was considered a leader in the Democratic Party, showcases the fact that bigotry and racism is not exclusively a Republican problem. It is also a problem within our own party. And it is time that we turn the page on Andrew Cuomo and those that would tolerate this kind of rhetoric from him as well.
Yeah, I can hear the passion and emotion in your voice. It's personal for you.
It is. I mean, it just to describe myself and describe Muslims in this manner, it begs the question of why this kind of rhetoric is acceptable when we're speaking about Muslim New Yorkers. Because all Muslim New Yorkers want is to feel a sense of equality and respect that every New Yorker deserves. And even that is being denied by the federal government.
Don't even try it. Don't even try to get on my phone right now. Be careful. There's a bear behind you. I know. It's terrifying. Yeah. This is an incredibly comprehensive article. Okay, the Grand Planner thing. I know. You want me to watch the Grand Planner article. We're not going to do that right now. With a dire picture of Mamdani mayoralty, Cuomo plays to voters' fears. What a spectacular way to frame unrestrained and unrestricted racism, okay? Andrew Cuomo is escalating his warnings that mayhem would follow a victory by Zohran Mamdani, even posting an AI-generated video that depicts his supporters as criminals. On Thursday, he urged Sid Rosenberg to imagine Mamdani in that seat if there's another September 11. Yeah, I could. He'd be cheering, he said. Cuomo left. That's another problem. It's just a little bit of, playing into the fears of the voters. I'm willing to bet that if you were to ask voters what they fear more, the actual Islamophobia or Muslims in general, I would suspect the unrestrained Islamophobia would be more like the unrestrained bigotry, not just against Muslims, but against all marginalized populations, all marginalized backgrounds would probably be more of a concern for New York City voters, I think. And obviously that is the case. And that is precisely the reason why Zohran is 20 plus points on fucking Andrew Cuomo from the WAPO. But Hassan defense doesn't make sense. Cuomo spokesman Rich Azzopardi defended Cuomo's remarks, saying the governor was referring to Mamdani's refusal to denounce left-wing commentator Hassan Piker, who once said America deserved 9/11. Cuomo did not mention Piker in that part of his conversation with Rosenberg, and Mamdani has said Piker's comments on 9/11 were objectionable and reprehensible. Exactly. He thinks that's a good line of attack, except I am not a known entity. Okay? He thinks, oh, you guys are saying that me associating Zohran with cheering on 9/11 is racist, but actually the reason why I was making that inference is because here's another progressive Muslim commentator that I also am associating with cheering on 9/11. A Twitch streamer. Yeah, and it's also additionally stupid because I'm willing to bet I'm probably, for amongst people who know who I am versus know who Cuomo is, okay, because not many people know who I am, but amongst people who know who I am in New York, I'm probably a more popular figure than fucking Andrew Cuomo is. Like, it's so dumb. You just now said you're a Muslim. I'm so happy right now. Yes, obviously these people, when they make those associations, are really leaning into the Hassan Piker aspect of it. No one would actually fucking call into question if Zoran went on Bill Maher's TV show. No one would be like, well, remember when Bill Maher literally said that 9/11 attackers were brave 2 weeks after 9/11, and then said, you know what's not brave? Lobbing Tomahawk missiles from thousands of miles away. That's not brave. You know who is brave? Flying into those towers. That's what Bill Maher said. Do you think this kind of association would be taking place with Zohran Mamdani and Bill Maher if Zohran Mamdani went on Bill Maher's show? Fuck no. I wonder why. I wonder why. Yeah. And when asked to, when called into question his fucking remarks about Zohran Mamdani on the Sid Rosenberg show, this is what he retaliated with.
It was
just like last night when he was asked about directly addressing his victims, specifically the one that was in the room. He turned around and said, oh, why don't you do BDS on Uganda?
a radio show that I was on. I was not the co-host of the radio. I was, yeah.
Yeah. A guy who was trying to present himself as like the Democrat Party's alternative, even though he lost the primaries, can easily go on a right-wing show and be unrestrained and racist while simultaneously turning around and being like, but this progressive guy who works with the Democrats, okay, me, that association is unacceptable. It's ridiculous.
The host said whatever the host said. All right, that's the host. Go talk to the host.
Okay, the host said whatever the host said. The fuck do you mean? This entire campaign, you've been like, oh, well, what about what Hassan Piker said in 2019? I didn't bring up 9/11 to Zoran, and Zoran was like, yeah, it's awesome. Let's do another one in our conversation. In your situation, you did that this morning. Fucking asshole.
About that. I said about 9/11.
Yes, I'm the host in this equivalent thing. Exactly. Why is that host wrong and this one isn't? Well, one, because it's a bastardized quote about American foreign policy, and it was in 2019, dumbass. It wasn't yesterday. The equivalence of this being a line of attack would be if I went and talked to Zohran Mamdani and we extensively covered 9/11 and we fucking said, oh, America deserved 9/11, and he agreed with me. That would be a major blow to Zoran's campaign. Okay? You're crazy if you think Mamdani actually dislikes you? No, he doesn't. But that's besides the point. I'm not talking about that anyway.
That's another problem referring to what I said repeatedly, which is I have a problem with the fact that Zoran howls around with Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. I did a press conference with Wendy and Sal for Churchill. Sal is dying from 9/11 illness. 10,000.
Bro, this is such a nutty thing. The host said it in reply to Cuomo saying, could you imagine Zoran being mayor during a terror attack? So they are giving him an out by not mentioning that? I know. Bro, you made it, and by extension, we made it. Bro, I'm on your side, but stop saying 2019 as if it was 20 years ago or something. Brother, what are you talking about? This is him defending his position on Islamophobia today, this morning. And then in defense of that, he's like, well, 6 years ago, 6 years prior to Zoran meeting Hassan Hassanabi, he once famously said, America deserved 9/11 when talking about American foreign policy. And the impact called blowback, a concept that has academic consensus. Me and Zoran did not talk about fucking 9/11, brother. What are you talking about? This is unironically the same shit that these guys do all the time, where they're like, whoa, I can't believe you went on the Joe Rogan experience. You know what I mean? Also, what's crazy about it is that Andrew Cuomo's own personal track record is insane in comparison to what he thinks he can attack Zoran over, which is an affiliation with a Twitch streamer whose quote he is unearthing from 6 fucking years ago. Okay? A concept where there is academic consensus on, for the record. Not said in the best possible way, but regardless. One in which there is academic consensus on the concept of blowback. Every moment that is spent relitigating this incident. Yeah, how Politico is reporting. Politico, Piker, who later said his 9/11 comments were inappropriate. Exactly. It's so fucking stupid.
New Yorkers have 9/11 illness. 3,000 died.
Please stop justifying. Please stop trying to justify why not one but 2 Muslim dudes are being associated with like a promotion of 9/11. That's what he is doing. He is trying to associate and affiliate Zoran Mamdani in the eyes of the voters with 9/11 because Zoran is Muslim, okay? He is trying to find a logical through line to do that within the confines of permissibility without directly saying Zoran would love a 9/11 to happen. Except the problem is he did literally say the quiet part out loud this morning, okay? And now, when people are calling into question why he did that, he's like, oh, well, he's friends with Hassan Piker, who loves 9/11 and wants more of it to happen.
On 9/11, you want to say America deserved 9/11? You insult all the families of all the people. You insult all the families of all the victims of 9/11, of all the victims of 9/11 illness.
Yeah. It is and also, Zoran already condemned the comment itself. So, and then simultaneously said, we should still talk to people who we disagree with, regardless. And this is why the Democrats lose, which is correct. That's why I'm in this weird boat where, like, on the Graham Plattner stuff, there's like plenty of irredeemable shit in his background. But I do appreciate the fact that liberals are not playing around with this anymore. And I do think that liberals in New York are also not playing around with this shit at all when it comes to Zoran either. Okay? Where they're like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like, what are you talking about? We need to have more of that. We need to have more of that mentality in the base. And we need to have more of that mentality for leftists as well. Okay? My fiance doesn't think you're reprehensible for saying that, understanding the concept you were discussing, and her mom died in the fucking North Tower. This guy's talking out of his ass. Yeah, one unaddressed aspect of this is that I said we deserved it. We did. Except people act as though I am an outsider when they're talking about this. That's the reason why it would never stick on anybody else. And that's the reason why I give examples of how it has not stuck with anyone else.
Insult to all New Yorkers.
You're talking about a guy who has not apologized for annihilating the elderly during COVID, a guy who has not apologized for 13 credible sexual assault allegations, including a fucking state trooper, by the way. Including a state trooper. That's why I say Andrew Cuomo, cop rapist. Okay? And he's over here being like, Zoran needs to apologize for 9/11, but he can't say it directly, even though he did actually laugh at it and also inferred that that's what he meant earlier this morning. So he has to fucking turn around and be like, he needs to apologize more. It's fucking bullshit.
Did a press conference weeks ago and asked him to denounce that statement, and he refused. He refused. That is an insult to New York. And yes, I have a problem.
Why did you laugh when he said he would cheer it?
Yeah. Anyway. My friend who's lived in Brooklyn her whole life was saying her dad hears them attack Zoran about you in 9/11 and it makes him like Zoran more because he doesn't want to get canceled for having friends who said dumb shit. I feel like that is more widespread than establishment Dems realize. Yes. I think the broader attitude that the right has demonstrated on their own candidates for actually reprehensible statements, not even like statements that could be defensible to a certain degree if understood within the context, if understood with what like the actual context is, but truly reprehensible statements, the right defends all the fucking time. Okay? It should be possible to critique a candidate's ideas without demonizing the candidate himself. To insinuate that a mayoral candidate would celebrate a second 9/11 is beyond disgusting and disgraceful. We all have a responsibility to lower the temperature and restore a measure of civility to our public discourse. Welcome back, Richie Torres. Unimaginably Richie Torres W, it seems. Stranger things have happened. I agree, but I'm worried about not being able to acknowledge past mistakes. Reducing accountability structures would help. Dude, there is no accountability. No one gives a fuck. Wake up, okay? It's not real. It's just something that you cynically use towards your interlocutors and your opponents. Or cynically use to stalk your fucking least favorite Twitch streamers or some shit. What accountability? Andrew Cuomo's literally a fucking 13-time sexual assaulter. What do you mean accountability? The president is literally most likely a pedophile that was affiliated with the most prolific sex trafficker of minors. And you're like, oh, accountability. Oh, we got to do accountability. What accountability? What are you talking about? It doesn't exist. If only one side demands this like idiotic version of accountability that doesn't even exist in the fucking real world, and the other side is like, haha, accountability. What a bunch of idiots. We're going to fucking put forward drunk rapists and put them in the fucking head of the Department of Defense and then change the word to Department of War, as a matter of fact. And we're going to laser innocent fucking people on boats. And there is no accountability for any of that. What the fuck do you think there is accountability for? It's even a dumber version of fucking, this is what the Constitution says. Okay? It's a dumber version of, well, the Constitution says this is illegal. Okay? Because at least there is an existing pre-existing court structure. You might actually have a Trump appointee or a Reagan appointee, a judge that literally goes, you know what? I am going to defend the law for once and actually create a setback. There is no real mechanism of accountability. It doesn't fucking exist. The voters did not choose to hold Donald Trump accountable for his fucking actions. They elected him. Stop with this nonsense. It's literally just a way for you to get owned all the time. And the right knows this, okay? The right fucking knows this real well. That's why they cynically weaponize it against the left all the time. Thank God liberals broadly are just like, yeah, we're done with this shit. We're not doing this because obviously the other side is not playing this game at all. So why should we play this game and harm ourselves? Moral infallibility is bullshit, okay? Moral superiority is bullshit. Nobody fucking cares. So in the absence of any sort of like real structure, like The only thing you're doing is basically owning yourself and owning your allies in pursuit of this false moral purity that doesn't exist. Especially because when you are easily duped, easily tricked in this way, you can be tricked in even circumstances that doesn't require any sort of fucking real accountability. Yeah. Accountability, by the way. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the accountability from the right. Here's what Steve Bannon had to say about Donald Trump running over and over again.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be president 28. And people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will, and you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm really I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's in his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through Zanny and define all those terms.
But you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it.
If the American people, with the mechanisms we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up? Would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution now?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship. That's what it sounds like.
Trump.
He already laid out the roadmap. They're going to find a fake justification for it, and then they're going to say, let the voters decide if they want this to be. Let the voters decide through principled democracy on whether or not this is constitutionally appropriate or inappropriate. After all, this is the democratic process. And then, due to all of the machinations in play right now, that will not be a real vote. It won't be. There will be overwhelming pressure. They will either fake the numbers or there won't be a real electoral process at all. And then they'll turn around and use that as a justification to say, see, the people decided.
A dictatorship, did you just see the compromises he had to make on the big, beautiful bill? You see the compromises he has to do on everything, on accommodating Zelensky, on what President Trump. President Trump is nothing but a series of negotiations to kind of keep this thing rolling forward, where he's having trade-offs all the time.
But Steve, you've just spent the last 20 minutes telling me we have to smash the other side. There's no room for debate. There's no room for compromise. We must smash them. And now you're telling me this is a negotiation. I mean, that's
no.
I guess that's why it seems to me some kind of tension there.
The only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people. Okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started.
He can go by the Turkish route, martial law, referendum, but unlike the Turkish route, he could do a fake referendum. But in any case,
we're showing you video at the bottom
let's
right
talk
of your
about
screen,
Bernie's campaign on Fight the Oligarchy While I Go Pee.
The entire thing. This was from earlier today. It's happening with the federal government shut down, about to enter day number 23 with no end in sight. Thousands of federal employees will not receive their regular paychecks on Friday. On Capitol Hill, both sides holding on to their positions. Republicans demanding a yes vote to reopen the government and say discussions on health care subsidies can then get underway. Democrats still say no. They first want a plan in place to extend those subsidies. Tonight, President Trump says a deal can happen.
We have a great support on the Republican side. So I think we need 5 Democrats, and there are a lot of them that want to make a deal. So I think at some point, common sense will prevail.
A lot to talk about tonight with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. His new book is Fight Oligarchy. Senator Sanders, appreciate you being with us. We are going to show images on the screen of the East Wing being ripped apart from earlier today, torn down. What do you think when you see that?
Well, I think, the White House is an historic building. It goes way, way back, and, I'm not impressed by the destruction of a significant part of it, to be honest with you.
You've railed against American oligarchs. Your new book is Fight the Oligarchy. This is for a ballroom being built so the President of the United States can, entertain world leaders and it's being built, I guess, with
oligarchs. Look. And what our book was about, Anderson, is a very simple one. It's a reality that I hope the American people are prepared to deal with, because it's not easy. It's easy to call Russia an oligarchy. Putin's one of the richest guys in the world, and his friends, billionaires, run Russia. But guess what's happening in America? Today in our country, and this is what the book is about, we have more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had. You got one guy, Mr. Musk, owning more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. You got more concentration of ownership than we've ever had in the history of this country. You have billionaires controlling our corrupt political system. Billionaires putting huge amounts of money into both political parties. Mr. Musk contributing $270 million to help elect Trump as president. You have more and more billionaire control over the media, mainstream media, as I am sure you are well aware, Anderson. Mr. Ellison, who now owns Paramount and CBS, is in line to maybe buy CNN, and we'll see, one of Trump's allies now owns more and more of the media. And then in the midst of all that, you have 60% of our people living paycheck to paycheck. The billionaires get richer. Working class people are struggling to put food on the table, to pay for health care, pay for education. That's what oligarchy is about. It's when a handful of incredibly wealthy...
I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit on the nose that the government is shut down and Donald Trump is destroying the White House. Like, I'm not big into this kind of thing, right? I'm not super libbed up like that. But it is a little hard not to look at this and be like, this is too on the nose, man. Straight up, this is just a metaphor.
People control the economy, control the media, control the politics of a country. And sad to say, that is where we are heading. And that is why we have got to fight back, and why I was so excited on Saturday to see some 7 million people come out in the streets and say, Mr. President, we don't want an authoritarian society. We don't want to live in an oligarchy. We want a democracy. We want a government that works for all of us, not just a few.
When you say fight the oligarchy, what specifically, obviously the protest is part of it, what specifically do you want to see? And also when you see also, what we have seen in Portland and Chicago, we saw there was some incident in New York, just I think it was yesterday or today. Do you see that as part of it? I mean, the huge increase in ICE and border
Absolutely.
patrol.
Look, it's not just that Trump is suing the media, suing law firms, going after universities, and now beginning the process of trying to put in jail his political opponents. The Attorney General of the state of New York, the former head of the FBI, threatening to indict a member of the United States Senate, a colleague of mine.
Yes, the irony is not lost upon me that Bernie Sanders is talking about oligarchs in the United States of America as opposed to oligarchs in Russia, to a literal son of oligarchs, of a member of the Vanderbilt family. For those of you who do not know, Anderson Cooper is a Vanderbilt. So it's ironic, but you know, what are you going to do?
And then what you're seeing is masked men, ICE agents, running around the country, throwing people without any due process into vans, taking them to God knows where, in some cases, believe it or not, to South Sudan. When you see U.S. troops in cities like Portland or Chicago, this is what authoritarianism is about. It's more and more power going into the hands of one man. And I will tell you something that, you know, throughout the history of this country, from the extraordinarily courageous people back in the 1770s who had the guts to put their lives on the line and died by the thousands, taking on the authoritarianism of the King of England, you know, and then writing a constitution calling for separation of powers. And so many millions of American men and women fighting to defend democracy, the right of us to disagree with each other, and not throw political opponents in jail, not become a two-bit dictatorship. So that is where we are right now. And we need a political movement in this country to start taking on the oligarchy, to start electing candidates who are not worried about their campaign contributions from the billionaires, but are prepared to create an economy that works for all. You ask me specifically what we do. Well, right now, our healthcare system, totally broken. Everybody understands that. We need to do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right. Our housing system, broken all over the country. Go to any place, go to Vermont, go to New York City, go to any place, California. People cannot afford housing. Our kids may never be able to purchase their own home in the richest country in the history of the world. Our kids may well have a lower standard of living than their parents, while Mr. Musk and his billionaire friends get richer. So what do? We build 4 or 5 million units of low-income and affordable housing.
See, I'm going to explain to you guys something. Vanderbilt or not, he's letting Bernie go on with this, right? This is still appropriate because a contentious interview of this sort would be like, well, Bernie, don't you think you're bringing up like the housing costs in different markets, but you've contributed to this with your 3 houses? Like, do you understand the difference between a hostile interview that is unproductive and also not arriving at any sort of discernible truth but with a cynical framing like this versus letting him just talk? That would be fucking ridiculous. Brother, sister, the emperor. That is exactly what was happening every single interview to Bernie Sanders on CNN, literally during the entire reign of the 2016 primary campaign. That is exactly what they did. Like, are there instances worthy of criticism in terms of like what Bernie Sanders has done? Yes. Should that still be matched with the performance of Congress broadly? Absolutely. Okay. This is what I mean when I say like we always have to work within the pre-existing methods. We have to exhaust all opportunities. We have to exhaust all of the electoral machine that we have in front of us. Okay? Because they're using Bernie as a catharsis to quell the masses? No, it's not. I don't think it's like a cynical thing that these guys have like... these guys have some sort of additional... I said this with the Graham Plattner stuff too. Graham Plattner has red flags galore in his background, but I don't think Graham Plattner is a 20-year project by the fucking federal agencies because there is no left movement to destroy. There is no discontent to quell. Okay? It doesn't work that way. That it might be in the future, but like there is no reason for the CIA to do a psyop by running like a fake secret candidate when they have CIA candidates like Elisa Slotkin, Abigail Spanberger. Okay? There's no discontent to quell. Yes, there's no organized leftist labor militancy that they must forcibly squash. That's my point. There isn't. There's a lot of anger and a lot of resentment. Plenty of it gets channeled through right-wing reactionary sentiment, okay? And Donald Trump does a great job with that. But there is no organized left militancy at this stage. And I'm afraid, I don't even think there really is a need to destroy leftist organizing because we do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. There's mobilization, but no organization. Exactly. But we do it to ourselves. We have no serious discipline within organizational structures of the existing movements. And leftists broadly think it's just about like cynically posting. Like that's how you do it. It's just, wow, this person, I saw a clip. Other people told me this person is anti-black and I knew it. Hassan is anti-black. There you go. Like, I'm not the movement or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. But even when you have like an advocate that has a long-standing track record that is attacked almost as much by the left under the guise of simple constructive criticisms, then like who is the guy? I'm looking for it too. I don't want to be the guy. Find me the guy.
We have the best educational system in the world in the richest country, not a broken childcare system. We got workers out there making 14, 15 bucks an hour. People can't afford it. Our kids should not be 37th in the world in terms of reading and science and math. We should be first in the world. College education should be free. Vocational schools should be free. And you know what? Maybe billionaires like Mr. Musk, who's worth $300-400 billion, maybe, just maybe, they should not be allowed to have that much money. We should have a tax system which says that Mr. Musk and his friends actually should pay more. Right now, they're paying less than truck drivers and nurses in terms of effective tax rates. So maybe we have a progressive tax system which says the profitable corporations, the wealthy, they should start paying their fair share of taxes.
Senator Bernie Sanders, it's always good to have you. The new book, Fight Oligarchy, is out now. Thank you.
There were plenty of fireworks at last night's debate for New York City mayor.
The three candidates went on the attack in their last clash before Election Day. Elijah Westbrook joins us here in the studio with the highlights. Elijah.
It was another tense debate as all three men vying to be the next occupant of Gracie Mansion search for a knockout punch that will convince voters that they can run the city.
With early voting set to begin in just a few days, New Yorkers had one last chance to see the three mayoral candidates face off.
He has said he'll take over New York if Mondami wins, and he will, because he has no respect for him. He thinks he's a kid and he's going to knock him on his tuchus.
We heard from Donald Trump's puppet himself, Andrew Cuomo. He spent more money on a singing water fountain at LaGuardia Airport than he did on the average cost of an affordable housing unit.
Cuomo, the architect of no cash bail, Zoran, the apprentice of no cash bail. That's why criminals are running in the street.
When Curtis Sliwa punched hard to prove he deserves to be on the ballot, Zoran Mondani spoke at Andrew Cuomo's attacks, and Cuomo even made mocking hand gestures when Mondani refused to take a stance on housing issues on the ballot.
I have not yet taken a position on those ballot measures.
What a shocker.
And there was also this.
You had the worst attendance record in the assembly, and you gave yourselves the highest raise in the United States of America. You went from 120 $110,000 to $140,000, and then you never showed up for work and you missed 80% of the votes. Shame on you.
We just had a former governor say in his own words that the city has been getting screwed by the state. Who was leading the state? It was you.
Governor Hochul.
You were leading the state.
That was so good. That was fucking awesome.
Governor Hochul.
Screwing the city.
No.
You cut homelessness funding.
But the most intense moments came when Mondani and Cuomo got to ask each other a question. One of Mondani's debate guests was Charlotte Bennett, one of the women accusing Cuomo of sexual harassment.
One of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is here in the audience this evening. You sought to access her private gynecological records.
If you want to be in government, then you have to be serious and mature. There were allegations of sexual harassment.
After the debate, Mondani and Sliwa went to the spin room.
There was only one other candidate on that stage who seems to love this city.
If, God forbid, Zoran Mondani was the choice of the people, and we will live it up to them, is I will organize resistance because I will improve, I will not move. Zoran Mondani could bet that I will be his worst nightmare.
But Cuomo went right to Madison Square Garden, sitting courtside with none other than Mayor Adams.
All right. You know, cost of living is so bad in New York that even my weird libertarian coworker who's old as fuck is semi-excited for Mamdani. Brother, there are people who work in finance that are going to be voting for someone who calls themselves a socialist. Okay? There are people, I'm going to repeat it. There are people who work in the field of finance because first-year analysts, second-year analysts, they have to ride the bus. Okay? If they're lucky enough to be in a rent-stabilized apartment, they damn well want that shit to be fucking frozen. That, my friends, is the beauty of policy. That, my friends, is the beauty of democracy. That is what democracy is about. You find things that people are suffering, you find issues where people are suffering, and you choose to address them. You choose to alleviate the suffering, and you make that your mission. We have unfortunately forgotten what democracy is supposed to be like because the Democratic Party has basically whipped us into the assumption that you just have to shut the fuck up and vote for the harm reduction candidate. And the harm reduction candidate doesn't have to actually present good things that you might want. You just have to sit there and take it. That's not democracy. That is cynically taking advantage of the duopoly. And after the fourth, fifth election cycle, people go, all right, I'm done. Enough is enough. Harm reduction is not democracy. It's a hostage situation. It's ridiculous.
Right, well, there was one rare area of agreement last night. All three candidates say they are fans of a state ban on cell phones during the school day. Mary?
Elijah Westbrook. Elijah, thank you.
In a surprising turn of events, Adams, who once called Cuomo a liar and a snake, now plans to campaign with him.
All this in hopes of slowing the momentum of Zoran Mamdani. Let's get right to Fox 8's Morgan McKay in East Harlem with the big story at 5 tonight. Morgan.
Hey, Steve, Natasha.
You said the same thing, Zoran's response to the endorsement.
Criticize Andrew, you called him names, but you know what? Andrew Cuomo is a snake and a liar. Andrew is a devil.
Oh, he did the who's the hater and who's the waiter. Damn! I did come up with that for the record, but, you know, I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide. Whoever's in here that quickly and swiftly added that on to the campaign, that one's on you. That one's on you, okay? You got that one.
Did you
loser. I said, Andrew, are you that level of arrogance? People who run on independent lines are normally just crackpots. This is not, let me stand.
Dog, less than 10K views? Wait, it just came out like fucking 5 minutes ago, Chad.
Behind a cocoon somewhere. I always said he didn't have the legs to run in New York. Ask him, when was the last time he was on the subway? Andrew Cuomo was lazy. New Yorkers have 5 fingers. They love the middle one the most. I had to fix his mess. What would he do? He'll manage it away? He'll do a PowerPoint? You know, come on. You expect for me to step aside when you just lost to Zoran $25 million. He didn't want to be mayor. He didn't campaign. Newsflash, he lost by 13. And that's the highest level of arrogance.
Is he still a snake and a liar?
All I know is all my haters become my waiters when I sit down at the table of success. Ignore him.
Fuck yeah. He spent so many fucking years, not so many years, but like at least, years too, but definitely the entire election campaign, shitting on Cuomo, only to eat his dick on the stage like this. Reprehensible behavior. All right, we're gonna watch this and then we're gonna get to the Zoran Mamdani flagrant podcast appearance.
Yeah, as you guys said, Mayor Eric Adams calling Andrew Cuomo a snake and a liar just last month, but today that's all changed. Now Adams calling Cuomo a brother. Now, this endorsement doesn't come as too much of a surprise. When Adams dropped his re-election bid, many of his close advisors went to go work for Cuomo, and Adams reportedly has been facing pressure to endorse despite his past tumultuous relationship with the former governor. Adams said today that despite their differences, he believes that Zoran Mamdani's policies will destroy the city, the same argument Cuomo has been making for months. Adams says that he is going to be campaigning with Cuomo in these final days. He also denies that he was offered any money or a position in the Cuomo administration in exchange for this endorsement.
Am I angry that I'm not the one taking down Zoran, the socialist and the communist? You're darn right I am. But you know what? The city means more to me than anything. And it is time for us as a family to come together.
We all have to do our best to make sure that Zoran does not become the next mayor. And the mayor put his own personal ambition and ego aside to make sure he's doing everything he can to make sure that New York remains New York. And I applaud him for that.
Now, Mamdani today was out proposing an expansion of a pilot program that gives new mothers baby baskets, which includes essential items as well as a resource guide of information on the city's newborn home visiting program, breastfeeding, postpartum depression, and more. Mamdani says the program would cost less than $20 million and combat postpartum mortality rates. He also responded to comments made by Cuomo this morning on the radio, calling it a disgusting display of Islamophobia. Here's Cuomo on the radio this morning and Mamdani's response.
God forbid another 9/11. Can you imagine Mamdani in the seat?
Yeah, I could. He'd be cheering.
It's another problem. But can you imagine that?
We're speaking about a former governor who, in his final moments in public life, is engaging in rhetoric that is not only Islamophobic, not only racist, it's also disgusting, and is his final closing argument with less than 2 weeks before Election Day. New Yorkers are living in the most expensive city in the United States of America. They're looking for a mayor who will deliver affordability.
Now, Curtis Sliwa also back out campaigning at the subway today, pushing his public safety platform. The Staten Island Advance had an editorial this morning urging Sliwa voters to support Cuomo. Staten Island usually votes Republican, and many of Sliwa's supporters live in that borough. But Sliwa brushing it off, saying they've also endorsed Adams in 2021. Sliwa making the argument that no one understands Staten Island and New York City like he does. Sliwa also taking a shot at Mayor Adams for his endorsement of Cuomo.
Corrupt birds of a feather flock together. I'm not worried about that. Anybody who was going to vote for Eric Adams, I have to wonder where they've been these last 4 years. Because because he is the most corrupt mayor in the history of New York. So, hey, Andrew Cuomo, you can have whatever votes he had. I don't ever want Eric Adams' votes.
Now, tonight at 6:30, Governor Kathy Hochul and Mamdani are going to be appearing at a rally together at Foley Square. Their campaigns tell me that this is the first time that they will be campaigning together since she endorsed him for mayor. Reporting live, I'm Morgan Mackay. Steve, Natasha, back to you.
All right, Morgan, thank you so much. And
you should have come through. We're at Maharaja Suites in Jackson Heights.
Hey, dude.
Giving up your tie.
I would love to.
All right. Next time I'll let you know.
I'm going to get your number because your comms team ducks me. So I'm going to get your direct number.
Take it.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to get it after this
I'll give
episode.
you right now, bro. Because they'll probably yank me there.
Yeah, we got to start this immediately. Zara runs a tight ship.
Yeah, dude. She don't around.
Yeah. She does not.
Feel free, you can share with everybody here.
Okay, beautiful.
Also,
socialism.
I'm so. Are we rolling? I'm so angry by the way that you guys did the New York City Olympics. Because I hit that guy up. I was watching Subway Takes, and I'm forgetting the guy's name right now. My bad. But he goes, "We should have like a New York City Olympics where the boroughs compete." And I didn't DM Kareem. I DM'd the guy. And I go, "Let's make this happen. Like I am down." And he goes, "How would we do that?" And I go, "We'll find a way." And then I see you a few weeks later, like, "We're doing it." Everybody come out. Where were you? Far Rockaway or something?
No, Coney Island.
It was Coney Island. Coney Island.
What is important about this is not the anger or resentment that you have towards Andrew Schultz and all these other people. What's important to recognize here is that Zoran's capacity to command the room is palpable. Okay? It is obvious that he can go into any fucking room, whether it be a bunch of Wall Street CEOs or whether it be even cops, potentially, we shall see, and he can win people over even when they are diametrically opposite to his worldview. You should read the comments. Zoran isn't funded by AIPAC. Bill Ackman be spending more money than 2% that Zoran's going to propose to take from him. So true. I'm about to cry. Bro said he was born in 91. I'm old as hell. More policy questions and pushback for a mayor than they had when they had Trump on. Schultz not believing Zoran can pull this off, but truly believing that Trump was capable of making America great again is something he needs to reflect on. Oh my God. Oh my God. Zoran won over the fucking Andrew Schultz audience and is cooking so hard.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're here with the next mayor of New York City. Zara Let's go. 93% on Kalshi right now.
Bro. I've thrown away more bags than entire families will ever make in a lifetime because of my fucking resentment towards this. Okay? I despise the fucking political prediction market so much. Just know, if you ever see me doing an ad like this, just know if you ever see me doing an ad like this, it's over. Okay? I've decided I'm done. I'm doing a bag alert and I'm out. You will never see me again. Once I got this money, the socialism shit is over. You know? And for the record, I'm confused because when Cory Booker brought up Sudan as a deflection in his convo with Jennifer Welsh, everyone rightfully called it for what it was, cowardly and repulsive deflection. Why is it different for you? Because people fucking hate me. Because I've been a loud and annoying leftist for 10 fucking years, chatter. 10 years, okay? That's it. For 10 fucking years, I have pissed off everyone, even people who would otherwise be aligned with me. That's it. Most of it is because there are people in here who have felt wronged. Okay? There are people in here who were in here who felt wronged by me and fucking despise me for that reason. I'm Sudanese. Small head, you ain't so bad, kid. Thank you. That's it. And Booker was changing a very specific subject he was clearly trying to run from. Yes, but my assessment in that moment, or the reason why I always am like, I have talked about Sudan, but why are you bringing it up in this circumstance, is because it is the most common deflection point. That's it. The thing is, I'm stubborn as fuck, okay? I'm a stubborn ass motherfucker. And I don't do this so that people think I'm cool, okay? Nobody thinks leftism is cool. I wish they did. It would be awesome, okay? I wish they did. But they don't. And a part of the reason why they don't is because we're fucking annoying. All of us on the left, we're fucking annoying. We're constantly going me, 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 me. We're constantly chirping. Okay? We love chirping. We chirp all the time. We are unimaginably hostile to people who are ignorant. We are unimaginably uncharitable to everybody else, and even people who we perceive as having a slight deviation from our ideology. Okay? It's just the truth. Face thinks you're whack, or rather your audience is, because of this reason. They would not have blinked about this recent controversy. There are so many other communities out there who much rather find themselves in the throes of like all of the most like right-wing, racist, bigoted shit, as opposed to this community, because this community is so unimaginably hostile to perceived slights, some of which is obviously deserved, but some of which is not. And this is an issue in my audience, and this is something that I've yelled about quite a bit. The irony is, of course, whenever I yell about it, people then fucking, the very same people who constantly talk about that shit will use that as another opportunity to further relitigate how bad I am. We have a real issue. That's why, what's the first thing that I always say? Be normal. No, it's not all leftists are like that. I think it's just you, dog. You're just an asshole. No offense. No offense. But as someone who agrees with 80% of your politics, it's crazy how unlikable you are. I don't even know why. Okay. Who do you perceive as a more likable figure? Like this is what I mean. This is what I'm talking about. I like that the three people that you mentioned as a much more likable figure are the three people that I have direct communication with, like are the closest, with the exception of, I mean, I guess like Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar. They like me. Quite a bit, as a matter of fact. Maybe they see something you don't. I don't know. Also, those are politicians. They have to be, probably because they don't watch your stream. Oh, okay. Who do you think is at fault here? Guy who agrees with overwhelming majority of my opinions, but simply can't seem to place your finger on why you just have distaste for me and you can't let go of that optical resentment? Or guy who's trying to navigate way you talk, I think, or guy who's just trying to navigate through the treacherous nature of reactionary politics that are so pervasive online. It's because I give off a frat dude vibe. All right, man. Anyway, as I said time and time again, I'm hard-headed and I'm stubborn, and I think that is what is necessary to get the point across sometimes. And also, I think it would be insincere if I were to try to re-triangulate my message to the aesthetic taste of people who don't like that I come across like a frat bro. But a couple people mentioned you in particular when they mentioned that they're tired of seeing frat bro leftists. Yeah. Okay. You build it. If you build it, they will come. I have no control over who I am. This is just who I am. And I think it would be insincere if I were to behave in a different manner. I believe the things that I believe. I do also disagree with a lot of people who say, oh, you're a frat bro leftist and that's not digestible. I think that's also incorrect. I do suspect that your brand of leftist aesthetics is actually not digestible. I'm a normal person. This is just who I am. I happen to have this worldview. It doesn't matter. The optics don't matter all that much. You know? This video pretty much sums up the issue.
And
oh yeah.
I know y'all don't want to hear this, but even the people who say they don't like cops and say ACAB are cops. Like, a lot of y'all are cops. There is this social phenomenon where people will find a public target, which is usually someone who makes minor. And I'm emphasizing minor because there are some egregious things that people can do. But minor missteps, minor mistakes, and they will like treat that person like a public punching bag until the end of days. And I peak game, right? Because people will like literally see someone who becomes an acceptable social target, and no matter what that person does, no matter how they apologize, no matter what they contribute to society, no matter how good they are of a person outside of the mistakes that they make, no matter if they have one take even that is like slightly off or that like people deem to be a little problematic, it becomes okay to like publicly harass and beat up on that person to the end of time. That to me is cop behavior. And look,
I've talked about this before. It's accountability culture in air quotes, and it stems from powerlessness. It stems from a recognition of your real powerlessness in the face of these unmoving structural hurdles, these unmoving oppressive systems that we exist under. We know that we can't change the government. We know that we can't actually like change the outcome of police brutality, no matter how hard we try. So we focus on more accessible targets, more appropriate targets. This is what a lot of the left does. Oh, well, you know, I can't get anything across to the Democrats. I can't get anything across to the Republican Party. I can't change the systems. Even though there are so many awful things that are happening around the world, I see it and it hurts me and it hurts my feelings and I want to change it. but I can't. But where do I have change? Where can I see change? If I can get a TV show canceled, if I can get a written apology from, you know, a TV show that I watch, a late night television show host that I watch. That's the only marginal area where you can have some semblance of change. Okay? And you just really keep hammering that on because it makes you feel like you have agency. It makes you feel like you have some semblance of power. That's why a lot of people do it. It's that. It's the obsession with crime and punishment for social slights, perceived social slights. Okay? And it's also a tendency for behaving in a puritanical manner, like wanting to behave in a puritanical manner. A lot of people also have an evangelical streak. If we're being real, even if they themselves are not self-identifying Christians. And all of those things combined, I think, all of those things combined create this very interesting dynamic. Is it me, or is calling you a frat boy exactly what you were just addressing with leftists being unforgiving and judgmental? Yeah, it was. It's just like, oh, you present yourself a certain way and I don't like it and it annoys me. And then the closest comparison that someone can make in that regard is not someone who is under a microscope for fucking, 7 hours a day while discussing these issues, but someone who is a politician who has to carry themselves very differently and is certainly not under that same lens. Anyway, brother, can you quit saying the left like you were also not a part of the left? It feels pretty damn insulting to us that consider ourselves leftists. What do you mean? I also say I do it too. I'm a part of this as well. But the more we do this, the more inaccessible we seem to others who are in our reach. That's the other thing. We don't actually let bygones be bygones. We're not charitable to people who fucked up. And to the outsiders who look at that situation and say, well, I've done things like that. But this broad left movement sees this person as a fucking demon, as an animal. Sees that person as a villain. Am I a villain? And that's the moment where they go, I'm not even approaching this shit with charitability. That's the problem. We do this to ourselves. Can you give us an example? I mean, there are a million examples that take place on a daily fucking basis. There are so many people that are constantly cast aside. Like here, I'll give you an example so that we can have drama over it if you want. Okay? I'll give you an example so there's a serious drama that we can relitigate. Like, people were screaming at Cutie Cinderella. And I looked through the people that were yelling at Cutie Cinderella. Not many of them were actually fans of mine, because Cutie Cinderella responded to Aiden Ross and Asmongold doing a competing award show or something. And everyone got mad at her. And they were like, why are you highlighting these right-wing figures? It's true. Aiden Ross and Asmongold are right-wing figures. Okay? They are. But this is not any sort of serious, sincere advocacy. And I'm not even taking ownership over the people that were doing that, because I literally looked to see if these were genuine fans of mine or something. Because guess what? They weren't. But also guess what? Every other community that saw people yelling Every other community that saw people yelling at Cutie Cinderella, do you know what they think? They think it was my audience that did that. Because anyone who feels slighted by a hall monitor on the internet, okay? Anyone who feels slighted by a hall monitor on the internet immediately associates that with the broad leftist movement. And for many people who have horse blinders on, that don't see the world outside of this like little confine that we exist in this little echo chamber that we live in, I am the representative of all things left and all things woke. They don't see so many people that would yell at Cutie for something like that also yelling at me, saying I'm anti-black, saying this, saying that. They don't see that shit. Or when they do, they go, oh, here it is. These fucking woke libtards are eating each other alive once again. For the average person, they don't have the political education to sift through the different sects of the left, the different ideological tendencies of the left. They just broadly see everything as the Democratic Party, libtards, and they look to all of us in that same way. I'm not exactly certain how we move beyond this, because this is historically, this is as long as the left has existed, you know? But that's just unfortunately the reality. We are presented to everyone else as the more toxic. We are always presented as the more toxic version of Asmongold, just so you know. Not to like the normies, but at least on the broader like internet culture arena, I need you to understand something very important. People think we are more annoying and more toxic than rapacious, monstrous right-wingers, because there is a sense of comfort that the average person has with a rapacious, monstrous right-winger, even if they are literally victim to their relentless attacks. Black and brown people. You can extend this to even the Donald Trump vote, because most people don't have the political education. They just simply look at the vibes, and the vibes are liberals are annoying. Liberals are the annoying HR people at your job, or liberals are the annoying hall monitors at your school, and that they're constantly fucking yelling about shit that doesn't matter. They're constantly checking people. They're constantly saying like, you're doing this, you should be doing something different, fuck you, this is irredeemable. The vibes have been fucked for decades. Very difficult to overcome this problem. Okay? But the right, not having any sort of moral standard at all, gives people a sense of comfort. It gives the average onlookers a sense of comfort. Okay? It makes the average person go, I don't fully agree with whatever the fuck these guys are saying. But ultimately, it kind of feels like these assholes would never come after me and yell at me unless I become woke. That's how a lot of people find themselves in the comforts at like the apolitical middle. Okay? That's, if you're wondering how like this Joe Rogan of the left conversation works, right? That's how it works. If you're wondering how there are 1,000 Joe Rogans, but there's only one Hassan Piker, that's the reason. Because no one is fucking schizophrenic and autistic enough to constantly fucking sit there and eat it every day and not become a monstrous person who says, fuck all of this, I'm going right wing. Nobody wants to do it. Why the fuck would anybody want to constantly be harassed by the right and then simultaneously get harassed by the left too for marginal differences in opinion or perceived slights? No one wants to do it. Why the fuck would anyone want to do it, even with all the fucking money that you can make? I really hope you get schizophrenia. I will be the first medical internet-induced schizophrenia patient. Don't worry. Twitch CTE, baby. That's it. There's a reason why there is a reason why so many people look to broadly what the left represents and only sees being fucking annoying. Like only sees the vibes as annoying, smarmy hall monitors. Is one of the worst aspects of the left broadly. And it's something that I try to, for the past decade, change. And it still doesn't fucking work. Even in this community, there's hella people that go crazy. Your niche is on the left. The right wouldn't welcome you or take you even seriously at this point. You're so fucking stupid. The right takes rapists, brother. You're so dumb for that statement. Are you fucking kidding me? The nuts that they would fire off if one day I were to be like, yeah, fuck this socialism bullshit. You know? I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm actually a liberal. I'm actually a reasonable liberal who agrees with the right on every single issue all the time suspiciously. Are you fucking kidding me? I know the talking points better than the right does. You know how fucking easy that swing would be? I'll be getting welcome to the fucking White House. They've named the ballroom after me. They don't have one fucking charismatic figure on the right. What are you talking about? If I can actually operate in this unimaginably hostile fucking water, I don't know, they do be Islamophobes. Yeah. You know what they love though? A guy who shits on Islam with the former backing of being Muslim. If I had no morals, whatsoever, if I had no fucking moral compass, if I was a grifter, I would just grift to the right. Think about all of the top deities on the right, top fucking figureheads on the right. They got nothing. They got no motion. They're not charismatic. They don't have no riz. They don't ever have to fucking navigate the treacherous spaces of being a fucking leftist. There's no purity testing on the right. They just go, oh, you like Trump? Great. Your Rage was open to doing a collab stream a few years ago, but he said he changed his mind after he saw how much shit you got for even thinking about playing the Harry Potter game. If they treat their own man like that, how are they going to treat me if I fuck up? Was his reasoning for dropping the collab idea? Yeah. And I know for a fact so many people are not going to understand the broader lesson here that I'm trying to fucking instill upon my audience and think, oh, he's just fucking sad that he can't fuck around with his millionaire buddies. Oh, woe is me. Big old millionaire. Can't even hang out with his millionaire buddies and he's offended and he's sad. No, dude. It's the overall vibes that we put out. Most people, we don't market ourselves at all. We just don't. We don't fucking market ourselves. And we just expect people to get on board because we're right without even presenting an argument as to why we're right. Add on to that the misinformation spiral that people go through. And there you have it. That's why I always laugh. That's why I always laugh at people who are like, I see TikToks of the very same people that are constantly being like, this person is fucked up and wrong. This person on the left is a bad person. Who then will literally turn around and in the same breath be like, why are there no visible figures on the left? I wonder why. Because you killed them. Like, what do you mean? And the only people who can actually overcome that, because if you are trying to become a propagandist for the left, you literally have to just never listen to that noise. Okay? You have to make sure that you abide by your principles and you're honest with yourself and you're honest with your audience, and don't get disturbed by the noise. Okay? Don't do it. There are a lot of people in here who for many, many years have told me, oh, we shouldn't allow this person in the community, or we should be less open-minded about like perceived slights, even if they're on a journey of learning. Like shutting off people entirely from the journey of self-development, right? I do this all the time. And those people, because I don't listen to them, can now benefit from a much larger community of support. Because if I were to do that when I had 35 viewers, I would have stayed with 35 viewers. If I were to do that when I had 350 viewers, I would have stayed at 350. If I were to do that at 3,000 viewers when the demands were being made, I would have stayed at 3,000 viewers. And I didn't do it. There is no value in perceived exclusivity. There is no value in gatekeeping, especially if your goal is to instill broad awareness, to unlock class consciousness. You know?
Y'all gonna jump me for this, but like, we always dismissing the intolerant left thing, but I do think there's something to explore around how there is such a thing as being included and unforgiven, and it happens a lot.
Like, look at this fucking asshole. Like, oh man, you really did me so solid. Thank you. Just to prove a cynical point, you're willing to call yourself a Nazi publicly? Like, what are you doing? Okay, fuck you then. How about that?
And look, somebody 2 decades from now should not be paying for like using a slightly phobic word, or even if they do apologize and acknowledge it, or saying something out of pocket once and acknowledging it and not saying it again. I do think like y'all are cops. No shade. No shade, no I do. Oh wait, and one more thing. A lot of the times these targets are women, queer people, black people, brown people, mostly black people, and then some disabled people. If it's a person on the margins, it makes it easier for y'all to do it because it justifies you hating people who are marginalized, because you won't do it with your chest outside of that. And a lot of y'all who claim to be like radical, social justice oriented people are just as bad, if not worse. A lot of y'all.
Agree, but I've also met a lot of libs who police other leftists. Wait, what? Yeah, no, this is... Everybody does that. Jake Tapper mentioned? Oh, buddy. Oh, brother. It is not going to be good if Jake Tapper's coming after me. But, yeah, no, liberals do that as well. Liberals also certainly do that. That's annoying. Liberals broadly do it to their left flank, but they also do that to their right as well. They do it all the time. As a matter of fact, they probably do it even more frequently than the left does. The examples he's saying is very different to some of the people in this community side eyes, though. He's not apples to apples. All right, someone clip me the Jake Tapper mention. Like, Jake Tapper's a great example. He's literally doing something that we just talked about in terms of like cancel culture, right? Like, Jake Tapper doesn't like me for obvious reasons. And I suspect that he's not going to fucking defend me. He's using this as an opportunity to fucking take a couple pot shots at Zoran and shit.
Mamdani's affiliation with Hassan Piker, who is a progressive podcast host who had said something along the lines of America deserved 9/11 or something along those lines. That's what he said he was referring to. But moving on, Nina Turner, Cuomo was pressed last night on his past quite a bit, particularly the sexual harassment claims. One of Cuomo's accusers was in the audience, Charlotte Bennett, invited by Mamdani. That's a move we first saw pulled by Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton and by association, Bill Clinton. How do you think Cuomo did on those issues?
He took the words right out of my mouth, Jake. I was going to make reference.
Okay, Jake actually didn't fuck me. Respect to Jake.
During the debate.
My mistake. My mistake for assuming he was going to fuck me.
These were credible accusations. They were not wild accusations. They were very credible. And it's really hard to try to explain something of that magnitude away when you are running for office. So he didn't do well. It's a try, but just can't. He's between a rock and a hard place on that one.
He called you a liberal podcast host?
Not
he said progressive.
He can satisfactorily address, I guess. It's interesting that Mayor Adams ended up picking Cuomo, endorsing Cuomo, because let's just roll the tape. This is what he said just a few weeks ago.
I want to be clear with you. Andrew Cuomo is a snake and a liar.
I mean, that's not typical political rhetoric. I mean, that's not, he's not qualified. That's not, I mean, a snake and a liar. Jonah, what changed?
I've been trying to figure this out. I don't pretend to know, but there's a lot of New York City, big Republican donors that have been leaning on Trump to lean on Adams to endorse Cuomo. Adams is sort of, a creature at this point of the Trump administration, given the pardon that he got. And so I'm sure all the pressure went that way. And I do think that, as the snake and liar comment notwithstanding, you do get the sense that Adams resents Mamdani more than he resents Cuomo at this point.
Well, his interest
One
changed.
leader in New York is me.
Go ahead. His interest changed. I mean, his interest changed. Politics makes for strange bedfellows, as the quote goes. And so that is why he is doing it. I don't see this any different from having the current Vice President, J.D. Vance, make reference to President Trump and Hillary. Their interests have changed. And so it is in Mayor Adams' interest to be with Governor Cuomo, and that's exactly what it is. It is his self-interest. He's not looking out for the voters or the citizens in New York.
You're referring to then citizen J.D. Vance in a private text chain, no longer private, using the Hitler comparison with Donald Trump. One leader in New York who still has not announced whom he might endorse is House Minority Leader, New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Take a listen.
He doesn't even.
As you indicated, Wolf, early voting starts in a few days, and I look forward to saying much more about the mayor's race, as I've promised, in advance of that moment. We'll have more to say about the mayor's race sometime soon.
Nina, see, the election's in 12 days. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. What do you think? What does it say? What does it say that I don't think Schumer's endorsed now either?
No. They just might as well just confess and say they don't want to endorse Assembly Member Mamdani and just move on. Instead of playing in the faces of the people of New York at this point, who cares whether Leader Hakeem Jeffries endorses or not?
Thanks to both of you. Really appreciate it. Great having you here. Go ahead, Jonathan. Final thought.
Beat cancer. Congratulations,
Translucent Mamdani is a problem for national Democrats. Jeffries is trying to get Democrats in a whole bunch of diverse districts from across the country elected to the House, and they see Mamdani.
According to NBC, the Cuomo campaign linked the New York Post article about you to every journalist asking about his Islamophobic comments. Andrew Cuomo says that that's another problem when radio host says Zohran Mamdani would cheer a terrorist attack. Wait, what? What the fuck is up with this guy? Rich, as a party spokesperson for Cuomo, told NBC News that Cuomo did not agree with Rosenberg's comments and that his response was in reference to a comments by a progressive streamer, Hassan Piker. Cuomo's repeatedly criticized Mamdani for appearing with Piker, who once said America deserved 9/11 before he called the comments inappropriate. Piker was not specifically invoked during that part of the interview, and Mamdani said last week's at last week's mayoral debate that Piker's comments were objectionable, reprehensible. He was referring to Mamdani's close friend Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. A statement 9/11 families called on Zohran Mamdani to denounce, but he refused for months, as the party said in an email statement, which included a link to the New York Post story. That's not new. Governor held a press conference. Oh, dude, it's first of all, no. Then it's like totally fine. No, he was on my. It's the exact same quote the campaign gave to every other outlet, so they linked the New York Post article to everyone. Oh, dude, it's fine. It's fine, dude. Oh, you can get away with saying anything you want about Zohran, dude. He appeared on my show one time. That's fucking nuts. I think everybody fucking knows exactly what's up. Oh, this is really funny, yeah. By the way, they think they can get out of this by being like, but Hassan, brother, this is not LSF, okay? You're running for mayor of New York. The people surrounding you that are listening to you are not a bunch of apolitical slop tubers. Why the fuck is your election campaign comprised entirely of Redditors that you think, what about Hassan, is gonna be a successful counter? I'm not even from New York. It's so funny. Sid Rosenberg starting to lose his mind, realizing that he accidentally put the final nail in Andrew Cuomo's coffin. Hey, Brad Lander, Jimmy Van Brainer, and the rest of you losers blaming Andrew Cuomo for my comments about how about coming at me? Andrew didn't say Zohran Mamdani will be cheering if, God forbid, we experience another 9/11. I said it, not Andrew. Cowards. And then Sean King says he agreed with it. He goes, of course he did, because it's the truth. You see that picture last week? I know who you are. Don't come here with your bullshit. No, I'm not gonna fucking follow back Sid Rosenberg, okay? Get the hell out of here. I don't understand. This has to be a byproduct of how unimaginably online the campaigners are, right? It has to be. Because, I mean, I know his brother asked me constantly to be on a show, and I've said no every single time. So I know that the Cuomos are somewhat aware of who I am. I didn't know Andrew was aware of who I am. But, like, what's hilarious about this is most New Yorkers do not know who I am. They don't know who I am, okay? I don't know how to explain this. This doesn't mean, oh, I have no emotion whatsoever. But most New Yorkers don't know who the fuck I am, okay? And the ones that do, by and large, a much larger number of New Yorkers who know who I am like me. And they're door knocking for Zohran. I don't think they're gonna turn around and be like, wait a minute. Wait a fucking minute, dude. I found out about this Zohran Mamdani guy on the Hasanabi broadcast and then joined the fucking team to go door knock for him. And it became a part of the 50,000 army of door knockers. But turns out this Hassan Piker guy, you know, that I've been watching for years said America deserved 9/11. Fuck. 6 years ago? Fuck. He said, what? Yeah. And also, this other part is what is so apparent as well. Because, like, sure, are there Islamophobic New Yorkers? Absolutely. But by and large, America doesn't have the same, Americans don't have the same level of, like, resentment. Like, they have a different kind of Islamophobia in America, right? It's not the same as, like, European Islamophobia. Because, like, imagine if Because the way it is in Europe, it's like the Islamophobia in Europe is basically like packaged with the Islamophobia that you have in America and the like anti-immigrant sentiment you have in America in an environment that is infinitely more hostile to immigrants than regular ass Americans in general. That's why it's like totally different. It works totally differently there, as opposed to it works totally differently in America as opposed to like as it does in Europe, where people would say like, oh, Islam is like destroying the West in Europe, and most people like tune into that. They subscribe to that racist notion, but they don't necessarily do that here in America because Muslims are not as prominent a voting bloc. They just kind of stick to themselves, and also on top of that, like there's a reason why the Dearborn, the anti-Dearborn initiatives don't work that well, right? Where they're like, oh, there's fucking, oh, there's fucking the calls to prayer. You can hear it in Dearborn. It's scary, and then people go, oh, whatever. Who gives a shit, right? I don't think hitting the Islamophobia lines like this is going to come across as broadly positive to people. I think it just like grosses people out more than anything else. You think they're mad that your TikToks, YouTube shorts about Zoran are going viral and it's free advertising? They have to pay millions for a fraction of that? No, I don't think. I think that when you look at like how poppin' Zoran is on TikTok, it's not. I have nothing to do with it. He's just popping on TikTok because he's young, he's vibrant, he's got a great team around him, and also he's got great policies. If it grosses people out so much, why does Trump go back to that playbook so often? Dog, are you kidding me? Even Donald Trump is nowhere near as Islamophobic as Andrew Cuomo has been this past week. Are you out of your mind? Donald Trump will suck the semen out of an Arab sheik's penis 1 week. The fuck? Donald Trump knows where his bread is buttered. Are you kidding me? He fucking loves the Gulf leaders and shit. He wouldn't dare talk shit about Islam as broadly as fucking as Cuomo is. Or Loomer, who, if you noticed, is no longer as close to the Trump administration as she's been going fucking nutty mode on the timeline about Islamophobia. Okay? Yeah, but saying that she's Muslim like saying Trump is Christian? Yeah, but they do hear the Islamophobic statements. Sequoia Partners unironically lost their chief operating officer recently due to the fact that that dipshit that runs Sequoia was running his fucking mouth about how Muslims are infiltrating the country. They lost a high-level C-suite executive, okay? And not only that, but now a bunch of those Gulf leaders that dump fuckloads of money into Sequoia Partners are talking about how they're going to pull out. Because they're like, why would we give you our money if you're talking like this about Muslims and Islam in general? Forget, like, these dudes are moneyed up. Yeah, here it is. Buried at the end of the article. This is from Financial Times. Sumaila Balbale, a practicing Muslim, left the venture firm after it decided not to discipline the outspoken investor for a post about Zohran Mamdani. Sequoia COO quit over Sean McGuire's comments about Islamism. The scandal has also soured Sequoia's relationship with some top Middle Eastern investors. One financier based in the region who has worked with Sequoia described McGuire's comments as a humiliation. A lot of sovereign wealth funds from this part of the world are not going to work with this guy. If you notice, Donald Trump never talks about how Zoran is an Islamist. He says Zoran is a communist. Are you not wondering why Donald Trump, who does not hold back on racialized animus on any capacity, rarely ever talks about Zoran's beliefs? You don't fuck with the money. Andrew Cuomo is unironically more Islamophobic than Donald Trump is, in his commentary, of course. I'm not talking about behind closed doors or whatever. Donald Trump knows where his bread is buttered. He knows, okay? And yeah, sure, maybe the Gulf leaders are not like, you know, truly practicing Islam or whatever. Who gives a shit? You're still shitting on them, okay? Like nobody, when someone calls a black person an N-word, nobody goes, oh, well, hold up. Maybe it was because it was deserving. No, everybody understands exactly what that means. And Islamophobia works in the same fucking way. When someone's like, oh, all Muslims are barbaric, or this Muslim is barbaric and a terrorist, all the other Muslims hear that and they go, okay, well, fuck you then. Like, people forget that, you know, motherfuckers have access to the internet over there, okay? They're super wealthy and they see it. A lot of sovereign wealth funds from this part of the world are not going to work with this guy. That's for sure. He is not welcome here, he said. You work for your limited partners and founders. You are entrusted with serious capital by investors, the person added. This is not good for the brand. Anyway, we got through the first 30 seconds of this until I went on like 11 different tangents, but that's what these fucking assholes don't realize. Oh, Crash Dummy's coming at 4:30.
Yes. Chances of victory. 93%. Yep. So, barring this doesn't go horribly, I think.
This is how we bring the numbers down.
We got to get some parity here. We got to get Cuomo a chance.
I want people to understand this election's not over, so I'm going to tank this interview. If it's not at 85 by the end of this interview,
we're going to work on
it.
Dude, you've done, like, I want to give you, like, a few compliments here. But they're also like very validating because I think, you know, every week I'm talking to Charlemagne and we're talking with the boys here on the pods, and it's like we keep on saying, hey, Democrats, can you please just run for something and not against somebody? Yep. And it is a very simple solution, but I think people at their core want to feel like their issues are addressed, you know, and their concerns are met. Not simply that guy bad.
Yeah.
And then you guys have done it masterfully. Obviously, you're a great talent, and your team is phenomenal. Zara, I know you're listening. You're great. You're great. You're great. Give us a little more time. You're great. You're great. But it was like it was really validating to see that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow, if you talk about the issues people care about and say that you're going to do something about it, they will support you. What a fucking crazy idea.
You know, it's also crazy. The things that I would say you inspire, change and hope. The last great Democrat, those were kind of his mantras, or however you'd say it. Change and hope, and that's what you inspire.
Was that Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's been lost a little bit.
I mean, I appreciate you guys. I think it's just, there's been a lot of lecturing and not much listening. And, you know, we saw a swing towards Trump here in New York City in the last general election.
Whose responsibility was that? Who the hell made that? What the fuck are we even talking about?
Dude, those guys.
Yeah.
I can't believe they did this.
But you know, it was. There are a lot of caricatures of who Trump voters are. And in New York City, we saw the swing was actually in the heart of immigrant New York. And I went to Hillside Avenue in Queens. I went to Fordham Road in the Bronx. And I asked New Yorkers, who did you vote for and why? And I met the vast majority of them were Trump voters. And I asked them why, and it just came back to cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And if I had spent that time lecturing them as to why they were wrong, as opposed to...
Young people cannot appreciate how awesome the Obama years were. Brother, don't even get me started. It wasn't. It's awesome in comparison to now. But that doesn't mean it was actually awesome, especially because the Obama years is what brought what we are experiencing now. Now, part of that was because he was black, okay? And a big part of it was, a lot of white people were like, yo, how did we let this happen twice, okay? They could not comprehend it. They could not contend with it. They were like, this is incredible. I cannot believe this guy literally is a Kenyan Muslim socialist communist, devil spawn, black guy who was the president twice. What the fuck's going on? I will vote for the maximum racism candidate. Okay? That was definitely a part of the motivation, a big part of the motivation. But also on the other side, it was the end of whatever progressive momentum could have ever existed within the heart of the Democratic Party. It was the end of it. It was the end of times in that regard, okay? A candidate that ran on change and progress that turned around and literally slapped on the most Clintonite policies, the most Clinton-adjacent third-way neoliberalism, a monstrous team of what does he call it? The League of what did he call it? He called it the League of Competing Interests or something. I forget now. Well, in Hillary as well. No, not the League of Nations, dude. No, the Team of Rivals. That's what it was. The Team of Rivals. Thank you. Like, a lot of people forget the rug pull that Obama pulled because he was so charismatic he could overcome it. Okay? But he really did do that. He really did kill hope in some ways. Okay? But of course, racism was a primary motivator as well, on top of everything else. But in any case, it was definitely a rug pull situation. Having said that, he was very charismatic and still is very charismatic. That's why I get so mad, because it's like you could be using that for anything, dude.
Listening to them as to how we could get right.
Yes.
Then we would run a very different campaign.
And this is one thing I said I wanted to talk about. I feel like establishment Democrats don't understand a pretty simple thing. We want to vote for someone who might make things better. Even if the risk is it will make things worse. A lot of people voted for Trump because he might make things better, and the other person is saying, I wouldn't change anything. Things are not good. In New York, things are not good right now.
It's the most expensive city in the world.
Just saying it's the same, and you're saying it can get better.
It's a privilege to maintain the status quo. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it, like, we are privileged. Like, it's very nice to know that we're going to be okay. Listen. Delete this.
I'm going to hit the Jordan DSA link. No, it's, we can't afford more of the same.
So here's the thing. Like, it's so funny because I saw it was like Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk. And they were talking about you. I don't know if you remember this.
I didn't see this.
But they were speaking, and it was almost like the shoehorn theory. Have you ever seen that, like, politically? Horseshoe, yeah. So it's like...
But you are shoehorning it. It is the horseshoe theory, which is, stupid. But you are shoehorning it into this conversation. God, I hate horseshoe theory. I hate stuff like that, because it's so, like... It's just, like, such a classic... I want to fucking swing above my weight class ass thing that people use. It's like unimaginably reductive. It doesn't actually it represent anything real. Okay? And it's like a clear-cut example of just like someone trying to sound smart. It's the maximum centrist mindset. What's the horseshoe theory? Yeah, you go far enough left, you become a right winger. Like, there's extremes on both sides. It's just like a very silly centrist position. Okay? That's it. And people try to like interpret it. People try to interpret it in that way where they'll be like, well, go far enough left, you hate Israel. Go far enough right, you hate Israel. It's like, okay, yeah, that's right. That's what the fucking Nazis want. They want healthcare for everybody. And they want to uplift the working class no matter where they are, around the planet, famously. The only person who abides by the horseshoe theory is Grant Plattner. That's it. There's no one else. I've never met another person who on the one hand is like, I'm a communist, I'm an Antifa super soldier, and on the other hand is running around with a fucking Todokov on his chest, okay? And is a Blackwater mercenary. I've never seen that. And I don't even know if I'll ever see it again. Okay? There is no other person that represents that. He is the true progressive mind in a MAGA body, a one of a kind.
I think that they were basically saying that you were meeting the moment in terms of what people are concerned with, right? And it's obviously cost of living, and it's like, I think it's so specific. I think it's like, it's rent, and I think everything is derivative of rent.
Yeah. And it's the number one issue in the city.
The number, yes, bro. I started looking up numbers because, like, I think a 2-bedroom 6 years ago was the average 2-bedroom compared to right now. I think has gone up 90%.
I mean, it's untenable. right? Like, and I think this is the thing that
90%, almost doubled in 6 years.
That's great.
How are people supposed to keep up with this? And I think what's so, kind of to what you guys were saying, if the politics on offer is right now is as good as it's ever going to get, that's not good enough for the vast majority of people.
And I think it speaks to how out of touch a lot of them are.
Yeah, and I think it's just, I spoke to a nurse who, after she finishes her shift, she drives for an hour and a half, leaving the state of New York to get to where she can afford a place.
Wow.
That's what you're putting working people through. People are living in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Jersey City, commuting it.
Dude, white people have to live in the outer boroughs. We need to fix this. What the hell's going on here?
This is what happens when you call him a socialist. You got to overcorrect.
See, if Zoran had the lack of charitability I have, if I went on this podcast right now, every motherfucker would be like, why are you normalizing these Trump supporters? Right? That's the difference between charity, between two very similar people in ideology.
It's just like, I'm going after Astoria. I'm going after Inside Bay.
The Greeks are not white. No, but continue, please. Yeah. It is absurd that in order to afford her life, and there are obviously certain circumstances that have created this situation. What I want to talk about more is, because I looked at your plan to go fix it, and I would really like this to be able to happen. A lot of people are making this impending war about you and Trump. I think it's going to be you and Albany, bro. Can you speak a little bit more on that? Like what you need Albany to essentially allow you to do?
Yeah.
There are restrictions in government. Like there are systems in place that don't allow you to do what you want, even if you think it's in the best interest of people, and even if that's what the people want. So how are you going to convince Hochul? How are you going to convince these?
She just got groomed.
People to allow you to enact these policies.
So New York City continues to be a creature of the state. New York City, if you have an ambition for the city that matches the scale of the crisis, you have to have an Albany agenda.
Yep.
So when de Blasio wanted to deliver universal pre-K, he knew he would have to go to Albany to get that money. He actually overcame the objections of then Governor Andrew Cuomo to get that money to make this a reality. Now it is one of the best examples of government actually meeting the needs of working people. And so when we talk about raising revenue, raising taxes on the top 1% by 2%, the top corporate tax to match that of New Jersey, that's something we will do in Albany. And that's partially why the endorsements of Governor
Hochul. You almost said it. You almost said it.
I'll never be taking that one.
You almost said it.
Governor Hochul.
He's posting that on Instagram immediately.
You see the trauma is coming back. Having to deal with that so much. Governor Hochul, Assembly Speaker Carl Haystree, Majority Leader of the state, Senator Andre Stewart-Cousins. These are endorsements not just of me, but of the agenda. Because in Albany, it's often spoken about as 3 men in a room. Now it's 2 women and a man who are in that room. And to have the endorsements of all of them, huge. It's huge, and it paves the way
I also think
for this agenda.
Your political momentum, right?
Thank you.
No. And I mean that. I don't even mean it as a compliment. I mean
damn.
I take that back. It's like a guy once told me, America doesn't have allies; it has interests. And I think that politicians are often that way. Now, I can't speak about you, but Hochul needs re-election, and she's gonna. It's next year, right? I imagine she's thinking, okay, if I raise taxes like you...
Dude, when I see Andrew Schultz demonstrate his capabilities as an actual active adult / political commentator, when I see him do this, it makes me more mad when I compare that to what he was doing with Donald Trump, okay? Because this is not a stupid man. I'm sorry, it's really hard for when you match up what he just said right there, which is correct. Kathy Hochul has political ambitions. She wants to stay in office, and she knows how popular Zoran is, so she's gonna play ball with Zoran's policies. That same guy didn't even ask Donald Trump about Jeffrey Epstein, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
You would want, I might lose some of my constituents. But she's also probably thinking, if this guy is such a tsunami and if I rebuke him, I could also lose people. So is your strategy to have so much support a Trump-esque version. Like he's the only other example.
The left won't make this a Bernie on Joe Rogan again. The libs will try to gaslight us, though. All the grifters like shows get to do whatever the hell they want until the slop runs dry. I mean, yeah,
Conceded has like found a way to completely transform his party. Is your strategy get so much support that?
Goddamn, the bar is low. That we're praising this dude for understanding politicians that want to win elections. No, I think you misunderstood what I was saying. I'm saying it's hard to consider what he was saying about Donald Trump and how he got duped by Donald Trump to be sincere when he does demonstrate the basic bare minimum competence when talking about like the ambitions of the former lieutenant governor turned governor and why she is willing to play ball with Zoran's agenda because it's an objectively popular one, and what it says about Zoran. Like, that is demonstrating political acumen. Okay, that means that at first you abuse your dog, now you're grooming her. Does your depravity ever end? No. Unimaginable depravity. Look at this. Look at this big old bitch, dude. She fucking Margot shouts out for that big ass bone. She loves it. She's going to town on it. She is so big. Apologize to her? Never. Only big old bitch is you. It's crazy because she just got groomed and now she is putting a disgusting bone all over her arms, and her arms are going to be completely coated with meat and slobber, but it's worth it. Let a bitch be big, goddamn. Yeah. Does she usually enjoy bones? Yeah, she loves bones. Give her bones all the time. I've never given her whatever this kind of bone is. I usually give her like a Icelandic ram horn. To add insult to the injury of Hassan Hassan mistreats her dog. I give her, as you guys have probably seen on the broadcast before, yes, Icelandic lamb horn, or whatever the fuck it's called.
Hochul's political future is dependent on her connectivity to you.
My strategy is to build the political will such that Governor Hochul has a...
Yeah, by the way, yes, I know I keep pausing, but 26,000 views in one day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
In Paul's podcast 2 days ago, 69,000 views, bro. This guy killed my grandma with his policies. One of the most embarrassing things I've seen in a minute. How can Cuomo attack Mamdani for being a rich Nepo baby when he was literally the son of the New York governor? I don't think being the son of a governor is a niche movie director, and a niche movie director really compares. God damn, Andrew Cuomo is such a fucking, like, motionless charisma suck.
Partner in delivering universal child care.
Good man. He's a politician.
Because look. Governor Hochul has spoken.
Bend the knee.
Governor Hochul has said
she wants to deliver universal child care. What she's had in the mayor we have right now is someone more focused on getting out of jail,
right,
than actually funding these kinds of programs.
Or partying. We're going to bring 11 to New York. That is a fire idea. You shouldn't even know what that is.
I didn't know what it was until you posted the clip, and I was like,
and now you're like, let him run again.
That's all he needs to
You can still bring it, though.
That's still on the table, bro.
Don't ban that guy. He said terrorists fuck. He's saying like they have sex. Like people that are declared terrorists by the State Department unjustly have sex all the time. That's what he was saying. Look at what he said next. What did he say next? He also called you the N-word. Oh. Okay, maybe he's not redeemable. Nuclear?
Okay. You were saying.
So I think It's what are you using your political capital for? Because the same people who will say, oh, we can't afford free buses. We can't afford $700 million a year in making the slowest buses in America fast and free.
I don't agree with that. I think you can. Like, no. Like, but here's the thing. Like,
Can I put that on the website?
You can put whatever you want. Like, I also think this idea that like New Yorkers are going to flee because of a 2% increase. It's like I've been everywhere else. You're not going anywhere. Bill Ackman's not going nowhere. He's going to be in the Hamptons all fucking
There's only
summer.
one place to write those tweets.
That's it.
New York City.
Exactly.
Every character you want.
Your AC goes out in July in Miami. You sweating writing tweets. There's
He's
no way.
spending more money against me than I would even tax him.
That was the best line in the entire thing. That right there, bars, best line. He's got those piffy one-liners down, dude.
Every day it's like $1 million. It's like $1 million. I'm like, Habibi, I don't even want that. You're going above and beyond.
Okay, but so I don't think anybody's moving, and I honestly feel that way. And like I'm in the tax bracket. We're going to tax more. Like, dude, if you're going to deliver all this shit for 2%, give it. I'm 100% supportive. It makes life easier for New Yorkers. This is my one identity in my entire life is a New Yorker. It's the thing I care the most about. But what I will say is that I think that there are going to be people in government that are going to try to restrict you from.
Why is he on with that racist? Because he's not a dumb internet leftist and someone who's serious about winning the New York mayoral race. Asked and answered. Let's move on.
And I know that you're aware of that. So I'm like, how? And there are people that might disagree on economic policy. We can have like a philosophical discussion about like what economic policy works. I don't even know. I think that's like a waste of time. What the fuck do you do when special interest groups are going to be lobbying like crazy? They're going to say, I want to build 200,000 units. And then the second you try, they're going to be like, well, not in my neighborhood, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, you have
How do you do that?
You have to be ready to take on these fights. You cannot be naive
taking
to
on
the
it right
fact.
now. Special interest groups are.
But I mean, it's I appreciate the point because there is a reason why we haven't had progress. Right? If you look, for example, at the Department of Education, this is the agency we spend the most amount of money on in any agency in New York City.
Yeah.
Of the $40 billion we spend about $10 billion on contracts and consultants.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of people who are looking forward to the.
If this makes you reconsider Mamdani, you're an idiot. Yes, many Americans are. Next question.
Renewal of their contract.
No, it's to educate you nerds at Bronx Science.
Oh, I thought you meant like, oh, if this makes you reconsider whether Mamdani's the real deal, you're an idiot. Yeah, but I also do think it goes in the other direction where there are absolutely people who will watch the podcast and be like, whoa, he's actually such a personable guy. I didn't know. And they will vote for him because yes, no matter how dumb you think the median voter is, I promise you they are way dumber than you think they are. Okay?
All of us dumb kids that went to regular public school, we don't need all that money.
Look,
Where'd you go to high school?
Baruch College campus.
What was your mascot?
The Blue Devils.
All right.
Yeah. Which
It's
we
actually
just chose.
a white devil. Isn't that funny? Who are you? Habibi, let's talk about it after.
Segue.
Segue. Get us back to Hochul.
Pivot.
Get us back to Hochul.
No, but here's my point. There are people making money off the status quo. And so there will be a lot of interest in retaining that status quo.
Yeah.
Right now, the city of New York will pay McKinsey a few $1 million to design a trash can. McKinsey's not going to be happy when I say we don't need you to design that anymore.
Right,
we can actually design that ourselves. The Second Avenue subway, which is the most recent extension of New York City subway
Shut
lines.
that shit down, bro.
Okay, that's not where I'm going.
Shut that.
I don't know where
Ain't
you're
nobody
taking
need
this.
a subway on Second Avenue.
It's actually a
bro.
beautiful
Why are you and Curtis Slee was so against the Second Avenue subway?
Because we're from Manhattan.
You don't want to get to 125th Street?
Never go to Upper East Side.
I grew up. I went to middle school there. I went to elementary school
You
there.
don't go there now.
I know, but so I don't need it. No, the last place you need a subway is on the Upper East Side. They're going to be okay. They're not leaving. Bring a subway down to Tribeca or something like that.
It's wherever you are. Wherever